Too much love drives a man insane. You broke my will.
Good gracious.
But what a thrill.
Jerry Lee Lewis. Sophie Degenerate. Good song, though. Dennis Quaid did a really good job playing him. I forgot about that one. I always think about the guys that play real-life characters, you know. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Truman Capote, Val Kilmer, Jim Morrison, Will Smith, Ali. This was a good one, Dennis Quaid.
He's a great actor. He's out in a current movie right now, isn't he?
2.
Yeah.
He's in one now, which is kind of a thriller, and then he's got the new dog movie coming.
And how about those commercials?
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
He's great in
They're good. Not as good as the guy... What is his name?
Oh,
Jim Winters?
The Madness guy.
Yeah, the Madness.
Mayhem,
yes.
Those are funny, man.
His name is Winters, right?
Yes, he's an actor in a big Rangers fan, by the way. Winters.
Love him. Anyway, it is 7:40 on your Wednesday morning. We put this time aside every week for a brilliant guy. He's a great guest and worked for Donald Trump at one point, but a monster businessman getting ready for his annual SALT trip to Las Vegas. He's become a dear friend of this program. It's our good friend Anthony Scaramucci. Good morning, Mooch.
Hey, man. Good morning. You forgot Danny DeVito playing Anthony Scaramucci. You forgot that one.
You're right.
I'm just kidding. My wife says that's the person that's going to play me if it ever happens.
Here. You're much better looking than that. I know. My wife tells me Craig T. Nelson. I'm like, really? That's the best you can do? Hey, Mooch, let's start here. Let's start here. We know, of course, that you own a piece of the New York Mets, so it's uncomfortable for you to bash the crosstown rival, the Yanks. We get that. But you're going to do it anyway. The Yankees have decided to stop playing Kate Smith's version of America the Beautiful during the 7th inning stretch. Overwhelmingly, the opinion on this show from us and the callers are it's cowardice. They're playing into the PC nonsense, and they should never do that for something she may have said 70 years ago. What are your thoughts on your crosstown rival knocking out Kate Smith?
Okay, well, let me ask the two of you this question, though. George Steinbrenner, the late George Steinbrenner, now deceased for 9 years. What would he say in this situation?
He would continue to play the song and say F you to everybody else.
Bingo.
Yeah. Okay, and I would say 75% of the fans would cheer that. So the accident here is they've made Kate Smith once again famous, and the three of us are old enough to remember when she actually got up on the ice and sang it during the Flyers Stanley Cup victory in the mid-'70s. You guys remember that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I certainly do.
And by the way, the Flyers, not just the Yankees, but the Flyers also have stopped playing that song, even after the iconic moment, Anthony, you just mentioned.
Yeah, listen, because they made this an issue, it's now an issue, and so obviously I'm siding against it. I think this politically correct culture, you're not going to convert 5,500 years of human discourse in 5 minutes because there's a group of thought police now in our society that want us to stop thinking the way we do, and they want us to edit every sound and syllable that comes out of our mouth. So if they keep this up, Donald Trump will win by 75% of the popular vote. So he is a protest vote to all of this sort of nonsense. So what happens is people look to the left and right, they close the curtain, and they say, okay, I'm going to show these PC people, and they click for president. So they can keep, but let me tell you something, it is reverberating back on them in ways that they don't fully understand. One more thing. If the Yankees said, hey, after 50 or 40 years of playing this, we're going to update and go into the modern times, and we're going to invite young artists out there to sing God Bless America, and they didn't mention the PC thing, and you guys had asked me that, I say, okay, that sounds cool. I mean, they did that for 40 years. Let's try something new. It's okay to upgrade or to change up things. But to do it for this reason, I think is terrible. I think they're making a mistake. Now they'll probably be mad at me for saying that, but that's what I think.
No, that's some great insight. And back to the people. I mean, they resent it. The majority of people are like, "Come on, guys, you're going way too far." And as far as pulling the screen door closed and voting for Trump and guys like Trump, I mean, you're right. It does have an effect, a reverse effect, I would say. But Anthony, it's been a while since we spoke to you, a couple of weeks, and we haven't spoken to you since Attorney General Barr released the Mueller report. And, of course, it's out now, and we've moved on from collusion to obstruction. But to use a term that you're fond of, isn't the obstruction case the fruit of the poisonous tree? I mean, when you think about it, I mean, there was no collusion, so it's all about stuff that the president did in reaction to something that never happened. And the delay just got worse.
I think we've lost him.
Yeah, we have lost him.
We've had issues with Ant. He used to call in on a cell phone, and it was great. I mean, he's fantastic. He's a great guest, but it was a little fuzzy. There was some technical. So now they got him on some new ISDN thing or something, and it's just not working out. So
whatever it is.
Yeah. So we'll do this. 1-800-848-WABC. 1-800-848-9222. We'll take a short break. We'll either come back with more of Scaramucci or move on to a big sports night. More of Bernie and Sid right after this.
Come on, Anthony. And we have Anthony Scaramucci back on the phone with us right now. Thank you, Anthony. And just to pick up where we left off, Anthony, I was talking about no collusion, of course, no apologies, no big deal, whatever. But they move on to obstruction, and my thing is your favorite phrase, it's fruit of the poisonous tree, which makes it invalid, an invalid case against the president because there was no underlying crime. What do you think about that?
Well, listen, ultimately that's what Mueller thought about it. So, it took me a while, but I finally read the 448 pages. And so what's interesting is he's a lawyer and he's acting almost like a judge inside this report. And so that's why Democrats can lynch on to, 15 paragraphs and scream bloody murder to people that haven't read the report. Now, Republicans can look at the entire report, and the Attorney General can say, okay, listen, there was absolutely no collusion. That's evidentiary in the report. And, oh, by the way, fruit of the poisonous tree and the fact that there wasn't an underlying crime, and with respect to the office of the presidency, we're not going after the president. And so, I think people 50 years from now will say, okay, this was some kind of, ridiculous witch hunt that they subjected Donald Trump to because they didn't want him to win the election. Okay, and so once he won the election, they couldn't deal with it. And so they went after him this way, and they tried to explain it through "quote-unquote" Russian collusion. But I did talk to the president on Sunday. I think Bernie, you would get a kick out of this. He said to me that I needed to fight harder for him. I laughed. I said, you blew me out of the seat like an Austin Powers.
Right.
Okay, I landed in a fire pit. I crawled out of the fire pit and I'm out on television fighting for you. Yeah, that's fine. Fight harder. I mean, don't you love that about the guy?
No, that's nice. So,
but it does prove the point, too. Some caller had called a couple of weeks ago, Mooch and Trump. Mooch doesn't like him. And I went crazy on this caller because I know for a fact that is not true. You are critical of the people you love most. That's what you do with Donald Trump. And I think in the end, he actually appreciates that.
Well, I got to be honest with you. He likes strong people around. I mean, look, I got to be honest. You could tell the listener that she was right in one way. He's mad at everybody that's not going full jihad for him.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? And but the flip side of it is I'm extremely loyal. I think he's doing a great job. But man, not going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner for everybody and all that sort of stuff. It's just going to continue to widen and deepen the chasm. So the president's point of view is that he's going with his base. He thinks the economy and he thinks the fundamentals around what's going around in the nation will bring in the moderates and the independents. He's president. That was his instincts in 2016. And listen, it's hard to refute him given how good his political instincts have been. So he'll likely be right again in 2020. But that was a pretty spirited conversation on Easter Sunday. Okay, I almost needed to be personally resurrected after that.
I'm sure.
Nice.
Well, we'll see. Biden's hopping in tomorrow, and this thing will start to get very exciting very quickly. Let's move local. New York City, of course, you've got your wonderful restaurant in New York City. I know you live on the island, Anthony, but you're in the city almost every single day. Michael Goodwin wrote a column today in the New York Post, and he's talking about Mayor Bill de Blasio's aspirations of becoming president, and he says he's probably going to do it under the new Green Deal, that nonsense that AOC is trying to propose. But what I really took from it was the title of the column is Worst Mayor Ever. You've been around a long time, Anthony. You've seen lots of mayors come and go. Is that hyperbole, or is really de Blasio the worst mayor ever?
Listen, I don't think so. I mean, I don't remember feeling Renato LaGuardia. Everybody loved him. I wish we could go back to somebody like that. But, I mean, in my lifetime, I think this is by far the worst mayor ever. I mean, he's done everything that he possibly can to unravel the growth and the opportunity in the city. And if you remember what Mayor Bloomberg did several months before he left, is he rezoned Midtown to make Midtown more competitive with places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi and other faster-growing cities. And now this guy's saying he doesn't want glass and steel in the city. It's sort of the kind of stuff that you'd have to scratch your head at. But more importantly, where's the Inspector General to find the $1 billion that was taken by his wife? It's just no one can explain where that is. And when you're in a one-party system, you have a tremendous amount of corruption. Remember what President Xi did in communist China when he got the job in 2012. He started an anti-corruption campaign because what we know about one-party systems, guys, is that they are corrupt. And ultimately, one-party systems are not only taking the money, they define the corruption to try to make it legal. So he is an unmitigated disaster. The problem is I'm not exactly sure how we remove Democrats like him from office because we can't get the voter turnout on the Republican side. And it seems like the Republicans haven't done a good job of convincing the unions that they're the right policies and the right strategies to grow the city and make their wages go up. At the end of the day, I'd be telling a union leader, come on, let's work together so that we can get your wages up, so that we can grow the city and grow the GDP of the city, which will enrich everybody. So this sort of sclerosis and disaster is very, very disappointing. The good news is we're not stepping over human feces yet, like they.
That's right. It's coming.
But I got to tell you something. We're heading in that direction.
Right.
I want it.
Hey, he's lazy, Anthony. He's crooked. He's a hypocrite. He's racist against Asian, and his real name isn't De Blasio. It's Wilhelm Goebbels. And having said all that, Anthony, we are definitely hard out of time. I hate to do that to you.
All right. Well, God bless, guys.
You're the best, bro.
Forward to next week. I got a lot to say about De Blasio. Okay, I could have a whole.
No, we love it.
Absolutely.
That's why I went there. We figured you did, and you did a fantastic job as you always do.
Usual.
Thank you, Anthony Scaramucci. Deb's got the news. Hour 3 of Bernie and Sid right after this.